back to Power Hour with Jim Duquette and Ron Darling.
All right, we're back on Power Alley. Jim Duquette, Ron Darling here from New York City. Ron, I'm going to ask you, Brian Peters, the agent for Carl Crawford, came out yesterday, and we're seeing a trend almost on a regular basis, it seems, about these players that are contracts expire at the end of the year, and it opens up a whole host of questions that I want to throw at you. But here's the quote from Brian Peters. We had an opportunity to exchange ideas with the club about a contract extension for Carl, and it was clear to all of us that an immediate agreement was not going to materialize. We'd like to minimize distractions for Carl and the club and keep the focus on baseball, so we don't plan to comment upon Carl's contract status again until after the season. Your thoughts?
Well, the translation is we made a ridiculous offer to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. They did not accept it, and right now we're not going to talk until they come to our terms.
We want a lot more money than they want to pay us.
And Carl, buddy, go have a great year.
Now, but I mean, it's a very interesting
Yeah.
thing. All right, is it, because you went through this as a player, is it a distraction? As you're talking about discussions, I guess, what point in your mind is it a distraction, or was it a distraction?
Well, how it becomes a distraction doesn't affect your play at all, but before and after the games, in every town you go to, someone's going to ask you about your contract. If you go to a city like New York, the Yankee beat writer is going to say, hey, Carl, what about the Yankees? You know, would you like to play here someday? You look pretty good in left field. So all of those things he's trying to kind of stop, those kind of questions. He wants to stop also in his own hometown, you know, the Crawford watch. You know, when is he going to sign? How much is he worth? If he gets off to a quick start, then they'll be, boy, the Tampa Bay's no way they're going to be able to afford him now. If he gets off to a bad start, they'll be like, hey, this might be a nice time to sign him. You might get him on the cheap. So all of those things he wants to stop. And even more importantly, I know from being a guy in front of it and a guy behind it, you don't want your teammates to be inundated all season long with, you know, do you think Tampa Bay should sign Carl? I mean, he's such a big part of the team. I don't feel like answering that. And that's how it becomes all season long. So that's a great thing for Carl and his agent to do. But I'm sure that they would love the long-term contracts. But it's become a trend, don't you think, Jim?
Well, and it has, and I like it because I like what Brian Cashman did. And when he came out and he said Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, even Joe Girardi, we're going to talk after the season. What you're looking for as a general manager is time, you know, and as things evolve, as he get older, 34, Jeter's going to play at 36, Rivera at 40. You know, at some point, that window of opportunity for him and their production level is going to go down. It's so far they're passing the time well, and they're playing obviously at a high level, but a guy like Josh Beckett, who's going into his free agent year, Victor Martinez. It's where do you draw the line? If you open it up for one guy, then do you have to open it up for the other? And it becomes a tough choice if you're the general manager.
You know, in the history of the game, except for the steroid era, the history of the game, guys that are 33 to 35 years old, they're done. They're starting to become guys that you're not going to be able to use. It's not like a planned obsolescence, but that's kind of what happens. So I think GMs now in baseball, management groups, owners of teams, they have to reevaluate how they think of players, because they went through a long period of time, 10 to 12 years, where they would say, hey, you know, this guy's a young 38. You don't have that anymore, except for the very, very rare exceptions. So that's the problem that you have now, is that guys are usually done at 35, and that's why there's this new trend by all these general managers. They do not want to commit to a 4 or 5 year deal to a 35, 36-year-old player, because you're only going to be wasting money at some point.